Mm-hmm.
Like, she's been in a lot of stuff. It's funny. I just watched a couple episodes of My So-Called Life in the last month because a friend of mine from high school, and of course we're in high school from 95 to 99, we obviously watched that. That was our time to watch that show. So I just did it on nostalgia. So when I watched this movie, I'm like, she looks familiar. I go and look it up. It's like, that's Rayanne.
AJ Langer.
And she's still a party girl, just like in My So-Called Life.
And it's kind of interesting too. This is another thing that makes me wonder about this island there, because Cuervo keeps dressing her up in all these insane outfits, but she has a bedazzled Cuervo jacket.
Right. Yeah, I saw that.
So that means that there are people bedazzling Cuervo jackets on this island.
At least one.
Yeah, at least one.
At least one.
There's a bedazzler on this island. That makes me happy.
He's got one of those those jeweler's guns that just punches the fake diamonds on the back.
She has an interesting arc though. So she's obviously controlled by her father. She has that pin on her, like with the chastity pin. She's just a loner who retreated to herself. Her dad's probably no help. She meets Cuervo. She goes to this island, very naive, gives him this, but then she kind of quickly realizes she helps get the box from Map to the Stars Eddie. Then she just she's like, this is terrible. I got to get out of here. I don't know. I like the character evolution. She's this young kid who gets duped, but then realizes how bad it is and wants out. And it's not a terrible. I also like when he's like, she'll never shut up, and then she's like, what are you talking about, Cuervo?
Later when she decides that she wants to leave, which is a funny thing that she doesn't really decide that until she realizes that a slime ball, like the character played by Steve Buscemi, could be so important to Cuervo. Only in this crappy world could a Map to the Stars guy. It's interesting because he's replacing
him. What?
He's replacing our Ernest Borgnine taxi driver from the original, and that was a very sincere, kind character.
Very Borgnine-y.
And now we're replacing him with this yet more kooky, more shady, more of a Cuervo loyalist kind of guy.
Who's a good shot, and who kills him at the end.
Yeah,
it's weird that he kills Cuervo.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, go for it.
No, I was just, but back to the girl though, but then she wants to leave and he's not clear about his mission but then she reads between the lines, but then he's like, screw it, we're going to take you anyway. Why did she come back of the helicopter towards the end? And they captured her, but I'm a little off because I feel like he dropped her off a good distance away deliberately. So was there just a patrol unit that happened to find her, or was she trying to follow to see what Snake was doing carelessly and then got captured?
I mean, she seemed like a really sheltered kid, so I don't know if she has too much of a... Also, I just want to, before we get to that, she steals that prototype really easily. If you're a government facility with a prototype that can shut down the world, lock and key.
Well, again, from True Lies, with one turn of this key.
Yeah.
What key is that? This key right here, and then you just see Eliza Dushku disappearing. I assume something like that happened.
Yeah, that's funny. I love that scene.
Like the president's there, like with his family, saying with this device during a press conference, and then she grabs it and scrambles. I feel like that happened.
Maybe he just knew she would be caught, and there's so many people around the area because he slipped that little thing in her. He slipped that disc to her that had the Map to the Stars.
Maybe he spotted a patrol.
Yeah, he knew she was going to be caught, and he told her to leave in a certain spot. He knew, I don't know, this isn't going to be The Hunted with Benicio del Toro. She's going to get caught pretty quick.
So I was talking about that, and then you were going off, you started to mention Steve Buscemi taking out Cuervo.
Shot him right in the chest.
And then, he shot him in the middle of the sternum. With a bullet, not a BB gun. And he stumbles back, and then as if he's totally fine, continues to shoot that bazooka rocket launcher thing unfazed.
It seems in this world, bullets don't mean much, because Snake forgets about the bullet in his leg.
Which he didn't in the first movie. In the first movie, he had good integrity to the leg injury. He was
limping the whole time. Yeah, this one he just forgets about. So maybe Maybe in this one, in L.A., bullets aren't as vicious.
Could be. They're made out of aluminum.
There it is. That's how they have so many.
It didn't even go through his sternum. That's what it is. It just hurt a lot.
Yeah, it took the breath out of him and then did that. And then there's a rocket launcher gag. It was Map to the Stars, though. He's like, hey, come back and get me, Snake. He can't believe that. Who's going to rule this now? Is Map to the Stars going to own this thing now, or does no one like him?
I assume there's some tough guys who are like the alpha toughs of Cuervos who will try, but don't have the leadership skills, so it'll crumble. I think it's just going to be kind of like a Game of Thrones of tough guys with mediocre leadership until one rises up. But I think eventually the real criminal mastermind will get another mastermind will kind of get deployed to LA Island and will kind of take over.
I want this TV series. Who takes over after Cuervo in this show? Because you know that world's going to get crazy.
Sure.
Oh, man.
Okay, so...
Well, it's going to be war, actually, because everything's shut down.
How do you feel that hang glider gunfights compare to jet ski action scenes?
Okay, I am much more about hang glider action scenes because I don't know how they were floating for so long. I really don't know. But I think if you wipe out on a hang glider because you're attached to it and fly into a building, Dunsky. But if you're on open water on a jet ski, you're fine. So I'm more about the hang gliders in this world than I am about jet ski action scenes.
Those hang gliders were going so slowly that it reminded me of going to Universal Studios in the 90s. And like some of the rides you go on where there's like the Terminator 2, thing where it's like it's rigidly turning and shooting at you and something flies by like that's on a rail from the ceiling. So it really felt like a higher tech version of a Universal Studios ride.
Whoa.
Like that, it was nostalgic for me. Because at first I was like, this is dumb. I swear. At first I was like, this is so stupid. And then I thought of that and I'm like, I just started smiling at it.
It's just so audacious, man. We have never seen anything like that before. Well, the Ewoks did it in Return of the Jedi. And they also, Kurt Russell and them base it on the flying monkey attack in Wizard of Oz.
Right.
But I love it, man, because I've never seen it before.
It was entertaining because when Snake would turn his torso to shoot the gun, his legs would pivot like fishtail in the matching direction because of how he was in the harness or whatever.
Oh, I love it. It's so insane that they did it. I'm just glad they did.
How were all the people shooting up at the hang glider people missing when they were going so slowly?
They missed thousands of times. These people the people on this island have terrible aim.
Apparently.
That gunfight earlier in the movie, this fight, they miss everything. Jeez. Hey, so how about this? Let's take a quick break, and then when we come back, we will talk more Escape from L.A. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Movies, Films, and Flicks. And John, I have a couple questions. So throughout our 300 episodes, and more so in the past, we used to be very reliant on listener questions. And so we've moved away from those a little bit. But I asked out for some questions, and I got a couple that I think are really fun. So you ready for this?
Can I pull the veil on the listener questions for a moment?
Yeah.
So just recently, in the last few weeks, I had a camping trip to Alabama. So I was in the car for 10 hours each way, and I listened to the first 18 episodes of Movies, Films, and Flicks.
Oh, wow.
On the way up and the way back, right? And I was kind of listening to our evolution, if you will, our comfort, kind of speaking and shooting from the hip. And we used to be more kind of not scripted, but we would have like talking notes and I could hear us trying to follow them, trying to stay on track. But our first listener questions were gags. Mm-hmm. Our first listener questions, when we only had a couple episodes in, obviously we didn't have longtime listeners, were from, what are some of your pseudonyms, Mark?
Like Chuck Finley.
Right, from Chuck Finley or things like that, or like High Kick Frank or whatever, and silly names. And for several episodes, all of them had funny like handle names because they were made up. And then I really liked that, and I said, let's start asking people for. And then we started doing it, and then we had no problem. And then it almost turned into too much. Mm-hmm. For a while. Like we would get too many and we'd want to use them. And I was backlogging them and then spreading them over time. And it's just interesting how that went. I think that we answered 25 Sea Beast questions in our Sea Beast pods.
Yes, we did. Yeah.
Half of which came from our good friend Dave Thompson. And and then we kind of backed off because they, tracking them, recruiting them, keeping track of it on Twitter and Facebook, it's work, but we love getting it. And so it's kind of interesting, just over time to see. I love doing them though, because they were so zany and they would steer our conversations so much. But I was appreciating that, listening to the old episodes, and I had totally forgotten how our first 5 episodes worth of listener questions were total gags. We would have had a question if this was episode 2. We would have had a question from Cuervo's glittery jacket on Twitter. It would make up stuff like that.
We had some good riffs on those though. I think they helped build where we're at now. I would say just being able to riff. Us
think zanily on our feet.
And you've gotten a lot better at improvising, John, I got to say.
You don't catch me off guard as much in our intros.
If you listen to the early episodes, John would just be like, what? There's an episode where John Lazarev added a Sarlacc pit into his fantasy football team, and John just about exploded.
That's the law. That thing is bigger than the football field. That doesn't make sense. I maintain that would short circuit anybody.
We have an upcoming basketball episode where we drafted horror movie characters to play basketball. I recorded it with Norbert, and I picked the Jotun, the large troll from Troll Hunter, as my center. And Norbert had a very hard time figuring out how that thing would fit on the court and how it would work around the Jumbotron. It was very reminiscent of Sarlacc Pit. It made me happy.
I'm assuming that no one picked Freddy. That's a bad choice.
Yeah, no one picked Freddy. We got some funky picks. You're going to like it. But yeah, it's I just loved hearing Norbert trying to justify a 200-foot troll being my center. All right, so our first question is from Eric Hoffmeyer. True or false? Destination Wedding is the best rom-com since The Proposal.
Is that a movie or a show?
Destination Wedding is Keanu Reeves and Winona Ryder at a destination wedding, and they meet and fall in love.
When did this come out?
A couple years ago. It's fun.
I don't even know this exists, Mark.
Yeah, you got to watch it. I think it's on
Amazon
Prime.
There's a Keanu film that I don't know about?
Yeah, Destination Wedding. It's the two of them back from Bram Stoker's, and it's just a cheeky, fun, romantic comedy. But for me, I have to go with the recent Netflix romantic comedies. With
Lovebirds?
Set It Up, Always Be My Maybe. I love the half of it that recently came out. I really like Last Christmas, too. I would put Destination Wedding ahead of Last Christmas, but I think Set It Up and Always Be My Maybe are my favorite.
I like Always Be My Maybe a lot. Also Keanu.
Yeah, also Keanu.
And I really like Lovebirds.
Oh, yeah, Lovebirds. Yeah, that was fun, too.
Kamal, what's it? I don't know.
Nagiani and Issa Rae? Yeah.
She was from that show Insecure, and he was from Stuber and other stuff, and The Big Sleep. And that was a lot of fun. I like that too. Yeah, they've been having some good hits, but I guess this Destination Wedding, which I didn't even know existed, that was early, I guess, in the Netflix film releases then.
Oh, this was Amazon. This wasn't Netflix.
Oh gosh, I gotta find this. This sounds like a good laying around on the couch in the afternoon movie.
I just love Set It Up and how they're talking about making love to pizza and always.
And that was the one with the guy from the NASA, Kevin Costner. Oh yeah, that and he was the astronaut.
Yes, Hidden Figures.
In Hidden Figures, who was really nice to all the calculators,
and Zoe Deutsch,
the computers.
Taye Diggs, Lucy Liu.
What happened to that? I haven't seen him, I don't think, in anything in a while.
Taye Diggs?
No. The astronaut and Everybody Wants Some.
He stays busy. He's going to be in he was supposed to be in Top Gun already. So he auditioned for Goose's son, but he didn't get it, so they created Tom Cruise liked him so much, they created a character for him.
Good.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Speaking of which, I need to watch Everybody Wants Some again. That was really great.
It's one of my favorites. So, all right. So we got that. That's one question from Eric. And the next one is, what are the most underrated movies streaming right now? And I put together a big list.
Wow.
If I can mention some of them. But I want to say The Guest, starring Dan Stevens. I think that movie hasn't gotten its due. I don't think it's due for blockbuster praise, but I love it. Green Room, of course. It's a perfect film. Free Fire. I love that movie. Hail Caesar. I think a lot of people missed it, but I love the kind of just behind the scenes take of Hollywood in the late 50s, 40s. Love that. Sleepy Hollow with Johnny Depp, directed by Tim Burton. One of the best looking films.
That's streaming somewhere now?
Yeah, it's
awesome.
It looks beautiful. The Endless, which we adore, I adore.